before electric fires and feathered quilts, when frost painted the caves in silver breath, our ancestors learned a secret: how to rest through the longest, darkest winters. While the world froze, their bodies slowed, their minds drifted into deep, timeless sleep. Tonight, travel back to the ice age of dreams and uncover how the ancient human mastered warmth, stillness, and serenity beneath the howl of a frozen moon. You feel it first as a whisper against your cheek, the breath of something vast and patient, moving across the endless tundra like a living thing. The north wind has awakened from its summer sleep, and it carries with it the scent of distant glaciers, the memory of snow that has not melted for 1,000 generations. You stand at the edge of your world, watching the horizon darken with approaching winter. The grasslands stretch before you, golden and brittle, rustling with the last warm days of autumn. But there, beyond the rolling hills, beyond the scattered herds of mammoth and reindeer, the sky has taken on the color of bone, pale, endless, promising transformation. The wind grows stronger now, and you feel it penetrate the thick furs wrapped around your shoulders. This is not the gentle breeze of summer that once carried the fragrance of flowers and the songs of birds. This wind speaks in a different language, older, deeper, more honest. It tells of ice sheets advancing like slow, patient rivers, of forests surrendering their leaves to silence, of lakes freezing into mirrors that reflect nothing but stars. You breathe deeply, and the cold air fills your lungs with a sharpness that makes you suddenly, profoundly alive. Your breath forms clouds that drift away like small spirits, carrying your warmth into the vast sky. For a moment, you understand something fundamental. You are not separate from this landscape, not a visitor in this ancient world. You are part of it, woven into its rhythms, as surely as the reindeer, the wolverines, the hardy grasses that bend but do not break. Behind you, your people move with quiet efficiency, their feet making soft sounds against the earth that has begun to harden with night frost. Children walk close to their mothers, their eyes wide with the kind of wonder that comes before fear, not yet understanding what the wind promises, but feeling its power nonetheless. The elders move slowly, their faces turned upward to read the sky like an ancient text they have studied all their lives. The wind carries voices now, not human voices, but the calls of birds flying south in great V-shaped formations, their wings beating against the increasing cold. Geese cry out to each other across the darkening sky, their voices becoming fainter as they disappear into the distance, following routes their ancestors have known for countless generations. You listen until their calls fade entirely, leaving only the wind and the sound of your own breathing. Your feet carry you forward without conscious thought, following the ancient path that leads toward the rocky outcroppings visible in the distance. These are not merely stones, they are promises of shelter, of caves that have harbored life through countless winters, of spaces where fire can bloom and human warmth can gather against the cold. The path beneath your feet has been worn smooth by the passage of your people for generations beyond memory, each footstep adding to the collective journey towards survival. The light begins to fail earlier now, the sun hanging lower in the sky than it did just days ago. Shadows grow longer, reaching across the landscape like dark fingers, and you realize that time itself is changing. The long nights are coming, nights when the sun will barely clear the horizon before sinking again, when darkness will rule the world for months at a time. But there is something beautiful in this approaching darkness, something that speaks to a part of you deeper than fear or discomfort. The wind brings with it the promise of stillness, of a world slowed to its essential rhythms, of life pared down to its most necessary elements. In the coming months, there will be no hurried travel, no constant movement in search of game or gathering places. There will be only the cave, the fire, the close warmth of your people, and the vast, patient presence of winter, keeping watch outside. You close your eyes for a moment, and let the wind wash over you completely. When you open them again, the first stars have appeared in the darkening sky, not the fleeting glimpses of summer stars, quickly erased by dawn, but the steady, bright companions that will soon wheel overhead for the long winter nights. These stars have watched over your ancestors through countless such winters, constant witnesses to the ancient dance between human courage and natural force. The wind shifts, and suddenly you catch a scent that makes your heart quicken with recognition smoke. Somewhere ahead, someone has already reached the copse and rigid caves and kindled a fire. The thought fills you with warmth that spreads from your chest outward, a reminder that you are not alone in this vast landscape, that human hands have already begun the work of creating safety and comfort against the coming cold. You pull your furs closer and continue walking, your feet finding the rhythm that your ancestors knew, the steady pace that conserves energy while covering ground. Each step takes you closer to shelter, closer to the community that will sustain you through the long night ahead. The wind follows you, sometimes gentle, sometimes insistent, but always present the breath of winter itself, reminding you that this season is not an enemy to be fought, but a teacher to be learned from. As the last light fades from the sky, you understand that you are witnessing more than just the end of a day. You are present at the beginning of a transformation that will change everything: the landscape, the rhythm of your days, the very quality of silence itself. And in that understanding, there is a kind of peace, a recognition that this change is part of something larger and more ancient than any single season or any single life. The north wind breathes again, and this time you breathe with it. You arrive as darkness fully claims the sky, your feet finding the familiar entrance to the caves, where smoke now curls upward like incense offered to the stars. The rocky outcropping rises before you like a sleeping giant, its face marked with shadows that hint at the openings within mouths of shelter, that have whispered protection to your people for generations, beyond counting. The cave you enter is not vast, but it breathes with the warmth of human presence. Your eyes adjust slowly to the amber light dancing on stone walls, and you see them, your people, already arranged in the intimate circle that winter demands. There is no need for words. This gathering happens as naturally as birds taking wing, as rivers finding the sea. Bodies move with quiet understanding, each person finding their place in the choreography of survival. The fire burns in the center of the space, fed by dried brush and the last good wood gathered before the snows. Its light paints everything in warm gold: the weathered faces of the elders, the bright eyes of children who have never seen a true winter but carry its knowledge in their bones, the steady hands of those who tend the flames with the reverence of priests maintaining a sacred altar. You settle into your place, feeling the stone floor cold through your furs at first, then gradually warming as your body heat mingles with the warmth radiating from the fire and from the bodies around you. There is something profound about this arrangement, this circle of life drawn against the infinite darkness outside. You are no longer individuals scattered across the landscape. You have become something collective, something stronger than the sum of your separate selves. The cave breathes around you, its walls scarred by countless winters, countless gatherings such as this. If you listen carefully, you can almost hear the echoes of voices from seasons past: your grandparents, speaking in the same hushed tones, sharing the same kinds of glances, feeling the same mixture of vulnerability and security that comes with surrendering to winter's embrace. Someone adjusts the fire, and sparks spiral upward like tiny stars, disappearing into the darkness that pools in the upper reaches of the cave. The gesture is both practical and ceremonial, keeping the flames alive while acknowledging their beauty, their meaning beyond mere warmth. Fire, you understand, is more than burning wood. It is the heart of human community, the center around which all of winter life will revolve. A child shifts in the arms of her mother, making a small sound of contentment. The mother hums quietly, not quite a song, just the kind of wordless music that soothes and comforts. Other voices join in, creating a tapestry of sound that seems to wrap around everyone present like an invisible blanket. These are not words but something deeper, the murmur of human beings acknowledging their shared presence, their mutual dependence, their collective courage in the face of the long night ahead. You close your eyes and listen to the cave itself. Water drips somewhere in the deeper passages, a steady percussion that marks time differently than the urgent rhythms of summer. Outside, the wind continues its patient work, but here it sounds distant, muffled, like a conversation happening in another room. The fire crackles with small, comfortable sounds, and you realize that these noises, the dripping, the wind, the fire, the soft breathing of your companions, are composing a new kind of music, the soundtrack to a slower world. When you open your eyes again, you notice how the firelight has transformed everyone's faces. Lines that spoke of hardship during the harsh travels of autumn now seem to tell stories of wisdom and endurance. The shadows that play across features make each person look both older and younger, connected to all the generations that came before and all that will come after. You are looking at temporary forms that carry eternal patterns, individual lives that participate in something timeless. The fire settles lower, and someone feeds it carefully, selecting each piece of fuel with the attention of an artist. The flames respond, reaching upward with renewed vigor, casting new patterns of light and shadow on the stone walls. These walls have witnessed this same ceremony countless times, have absorbed the breath and voices and dreams of your people until they have become, in some sense, alive themselves, silent guardians that hold the memory of every winter ever survived in this place. Our old man adjusts his position, his joints speaking quietly of years spent in service to the tribe's survival. His eyes reflect the firelight as he gazes into the flames, and you know he is seeing not just this fire but all the fires he has known, all the winters he has weathered. When he looks up and his gaze meets yours, there is a moment of recognition, not personal, but deeper. You are both part of the same ancient story, the same long conversation between human courage and the demanding beauty of winter. The warmth is beginning to penetrate deeper now, reaching beyond the surface of your skin to some core place that had grown cold during the journey here. But this is not just physical warmth, it is the heat of belonging, of being held by something larger than yourself. The circle includes you not just as an individual, but as a carrier of the same life force that animates everyone here, the same spark that has kept your people alive through every winter since the beginning of memory. Someone shifts the arrangement of stones around the fire, improving the way heat reflects back into the circle. The action is practical, but also somehow ceremonial, an adjustment that acknowledges the sacred nature of this gathering space. Each person here will spend the next months in intimate proximity to all the others, sharing breath and warmth and the slow passages of wintertime. This is not merely survival. It is a form of profound trust, a surrender to community that requires its own kind of courage. The shadows continue to gather in the corners and heights of the cave, but they no longer feel threatening. They have become part of the room, part of the shelter, defining the boundaries of safety and warmth. Beyond those shadows lies the infinite cold, but here, in this circle of fire and breath and shared presence, you have found something that winter cannot touch: the irreducible fact of human connection, the warmth that burns independent of fuel or flame. The gathering is complete now. Everyone settled into the rhythm that will carry you through the long season ahead. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges and discoveries. But for now, there is only this moment, this fire, this circle of life, drawn against the winter night. The fire has found its rhythm now, settling into the steady pulse that will become the heartbeat of your winter home. Each flame dances with the others in patterns that seem almost deliberate, almost conscious, as if the fire itself knows its role in the ancient partnership between human need and elemental force. You watch the interplay of light and heat, feeling your breathing slow to match the gentle rise and fall of the burning wood. Someone tends the flames with a long stick, adjusting the arrangement of fuel with movements so practiced they have become unconscious. The gesture creates a shower of sparks that spiral upward like earthbound stars, each one carrying a tiny piece of the fire's essence toward the darkness that pools in the cave's upper reaches. These sparks tell their own brief stories: bright births, arcing journeys, gentle deaths, miniature lives that mirror the larger cycles of creation and return. The cave walls have begun to warm, radiating heat back toward the circle in a way that multiplies the fire's gift. Stone, you realize, is not the cold, lifeless material it might appear to be in summer's harsher light. Here, in winter's intimate space, stone reveals itself as a keeper of warmth, a patient partner in the work of survival. The walls absorb heat during the day and release it slowly through the long nights, breathing comfort back into the space where human life has chosen to pause and gather strength. A woman begins to hum, her voice low and wordless, following melodies that seem to emerge from the fire itself. The sound is not quite song, not quite speech, but something that exists in the space between pure expression of the contentment that comes from being warm, safe, surrounded by the steady presence of community. Her humming weaves between the sounds of crackling wood and shifting bodies, creating a tapestry of sound that wraps around everyone present. Others join their voices to hers, not in unison, but in harmony, each person finding their own note within the collective music. Children add their lighter tones, men contribute deeper resonances, elders offer the weathered beauty of voices seasoned by many winters. No one directs this music. It emerges organically, the way flower petals unfold or water finds its level. You find your own voice joining the chorus, adding your breath to the shared song that rises toward the cave's shadowed ceiling. The music has no words because it speaks of things that exist before language: the satisfaction of full bellies and warm bodies, the deep relief of shelter, found and safety secured, the primal joy of being part of a tribe that knows how to survive together. These melodies carry the accumulated wisdom of countless generations who sat around countless fires, who learned that music is one of the essential tools of human endurance, as necessary as fire itself or sharp-edged stones. A child reaches toward the flames, her small hand guided gently away by patient fingers. The gesture speaks of learning that happens without words, the understanding that fire gives life, but demands respect, that the forces that sustain us are also the forces that can transform us beyond recognition. The child accepts the correction without protest, her attention drawn instead to the shifting patterns of light that play across the cave walls like living paintings. The fire settles lower, and someone feeds it with careful attention to what it needs, not too much fuel at once, not too little. This is knowledge that lives in the hands and eyes rather than in conscious thought. Understanding that comes from seasons of watching flames, learning their language of hunger and satisfaction, brightness and rest. The person tending the fire moves with the confidence of someone who has become fluent in this ancient conversation between human intention and elemental response. You become aware of the way sound behaves differently in this enclosed space, how voices gain warmth and depth from the stone walls, how even the smallest whisper carries meaning and weight. The cave acts as an instrument, amplifying and enriching the human sounds that fill it, transforming ordinary speech into something ceremonial, something significant. Every breath becomes part of a larger composition. Every movement contributes to the symphony of survival. The humming continues, sometimes swelling to include everyone present, sometimes fading to a single voice, carrying the melody forward, like a thread connecting one moment to the next. There is no beginning or end to this music, just the continuous flow of human expression, finding its way through time and space, creating meaning from the simple fact of being alive together in this place, in this season, around this fire. Someone adjusts their position, and the movement creates a small avalanche of sound, fur rustling against stone, joints speaking quietly of the day's journey, breath shifting as bodies settle into new arrangements. But these sounds do not disrupt the music. They become part of it, adding their own notes to the ongoing composition. Everything that happens in this circle becomes significant, becomes part of the larger song that winter is teaching you to sing. The flames dance higher for a moment, as if responding to the music, as if fire and voice are partners in some ancient dialogue that predates human memory. Light flickers across faces, revealing expressions of deep contentment, of profound relaxation that comes not from the absence of challenge, but from the presence of sufficient response. This is what your people have always known, that winter's harshness calls forth human creativity, that scarcity demands the invention of new forms of abundance. A baby sleeps against its mother's chest, its breathing so gentle it barely disturbs the furs that wrap both bodies in shared warmth. The child dreams whatever dreams come to those who have never known separation from safety, never experienced cold that could not be answered by warm arms and patient voices. Watching this sleep, you understand something about the future, how the knowledge of survival passes from one generation to the next, not through instruction but through the simple experience of being held, being sung to, being part of the circle when the fire burns bright and the cave breathes comfort into the winter night. The song continues, wordless and ancient, carrying everyone deeper into the rhythm of wintertime, where moments stretch longer and attention turns inward, where the urgent pace of summer gives way to the patient pace of seasons that know how to wait, how to conserve, how to find abundance in the space between breaths. Time moves differently now. You feel it in the quality of darkness that presses against the cave entrance, in the way moments seem to expand and contract like breathing, in the gradual understanding that the rhythms governing this season follow laws older and slower than any you have known before. The fire burns with steady patience, and you begin to match your awareness to its unhurried dance, letting your thoughts move at the speed of flame and shadow. Outside, the wind has changed its voice. No longer the sharp announcements of autumn, it now speaks in sustained tones that seem to stretch toward eternity. Sometimes it whispers secrets to the stone, sometimes it sings wordless songs that penetrate deep into the cave system, echoing through passages you have never seen, but can sense extending into the mountain's heart. This wind carries the breath of glaciers, the silence of snow that will not melt until seasons you cannot imagine, the patience of ice that measures time in centuries rather than heartbeats. The darkness beyond the fire's reach has become something you can almost touch, not merely the absence of light, but a presence in its own right, vast and encompassing, pregnant with possibilities you are only beginning to sense. This is not the familiar darkness of summer nights, which always carried the promise of dawn's swift return. This is winter darkness, deep and patient, settling into the world like a meditation that will last for months. You close your eyes and listen to the cave breathing around you. Water drips in distant chambers, each drop marking moments that no longer rush toward any destination, but simply accumulate into pools of time that have no urgency, no particular purpose, beyond the patient work of becoming. Somewhere, in the deeper passages, air moves through crevices with sounds like whispered conversations, as if the stone itself is dreaming aloud. When you open your eyes again, the fire seems to have grown more beautiful, its flames reaching upward, with movements so slow and graceful, they appear choreographed by some intelligence that understands the deep aesthetics of burning. Each tongue of flame follows its own path, while participating in the larger dance, creating patterns that shift and dissolve and reform without ever repeating exactly. An endless improvisation on themes of heat and light, and the transformation of wood into warmth. The people around you have settled into a stillness that goes deeper than mere rest. Bodies have found positions they can maintain for hours without discomfort. Minds have released the constant vigilance that summer demands. Attention has turned inward to rhythms that have nothing to do with the external pressure of survival tasks. This is not sleep, exactly, but something that exists in the space between waking and dreaming, a state of awareness that your people have cultivated for generations, knowing that winter's gifts can only be received by those who learn how to be truly still. A child shifts in her mother's arms, making a small sound that might be the beginning of a word, or might simply be the expression of contentment that has no need for language. The sound dissolves into the cave's acoustic embrace, joining the symphony of small noises that mark the presence of life choosing to continue, choosing to rest, choosing to trust in the ancient partnership between human intention and the world's capacity to provide shelter. The fire settles even lower, requiring attention, and someone tends it with movements so slow and deliberate they seem ritual rather than mere maintenance. The person selects each piece of fuel as if choosing a gift for a beloved friend, placing it on the flames with care that acknowledges fire's role as the sacred center around which all winter life revolves. The new wood catches gradually, taking its time to join the ongoing combustion, adding its voice to the conversation between flame and air. You find your breathing has synchronized itself to some rhythm that seems to emerge from the cave itself, deeper than your normal breathing. Slower, more conscious of the air's journey into your body, and its return to the shared atmosphere of the circle. Each breath carries warmth deeper into your chest, and each exhalation adds your life force to the communal air that everyone shares. This breathing is no longer automatic but has become a form of participation, a way of joining your individual life to the collective life of the tribe. The darkness seems to pulse gently, not with any visible light, but with some subtler energy that you feel rather than see. Perhaps it is the accumulated warmth radiating from stones that have absorbed hours of fire heat, or perhaps it is something less tangible, the presence of safety itself, the knowledge that this space has been claimed from the infinite cold and made into something human, something that answers to human needs and human dreams. Someone begins to breathe in a pattern that creates its own kind of music, not quite snoring, not quite conscious vocalization, but rhythmic expression that speaks of deep relaxation, of trust so complete that the body releases its last defenses against vulnerability. Others respond with their own breathing patterns, creating an unconscious chorus of life sounds that fills the cave with evidence of survival accomplished, safety achieved, winter engaged on terms that honor both human need and natural force. The fire burns on, patient and eternal seeming, asking nothing more than periodic attention, occasional feeding, the simple acknowledgement of its central role in making this gathering possible. Its light reaches just far enough to define the circle of human presence, while leaving the cave's deeper mysteries respectfully shrouded. Beyond the fire's influence, passages lead into darkness that could extend for miles, connecting this chamber to networks of stone that honeycomb the mountain, creating spaces where other forms of life might shelter, might dream their own versions of winter survival. Time continues, its slow dissolution, into something that feels more like music than measurement. Minutes might be passing, or hours. The distinction has become irrelevant in this space, where the only clock that matters is the fire's gradual consumption of fuel. The only calendar, the steady accumulation of warmth in stone walls that will give that warmth back generously through the long nights ahead. You let your attention expand to include everything at once: the fire, the breathing, the stone walls, the distant sound of wind, the intimate presence of your companions, the vast darkness that stretches beyond comprehension. All of it feels connected, all of it part of a single experience that has no edges, no beginning or end. Only the continuous present moment that winter is teaching you to inhabit completely. The boundaries have begun to soften. Fire and shadow, waking and sleeping, self and community, all these distinctions that seem so clear in summer's sharp light, now blend into something richer, more fluid, more honest about the nature of consciousness itself. You drift in the space between states, aware of your body's warmth against stone, aware of the fire's gentle conversation with darkness, aware of something larger, stirring in the depths of awareness like dreams preparing to surface. The fire has become hypnotic now, its flames moving in patterns that seem to carry meaning just beyond the edge of understanding. Sometimes you see shapes forming in the dance of light animals that might be memories, faces that could belong to ancestors, landscapes that stretch beyond any geography you have walked. These visions come and go like breath, never staying long enough to be grasped, but leaving traces that accumulate in some part of consciousness, deeper than ordinary thought. Around you, the breathing of your companions has created its own rhythm, a collective pulse that seems to sync with your heartbeat, with the fires flickering, with the slow movement of air through cave passages you cannot see but somehow feel. This is the breathing of a tribe that has learned how to rest together, how to lower defenses without losing awareness, how to trust in the safety that numbers and fire and stone walls create against the vast indifference of winter night. A child makes a sound in her sleep, not quite a word, not quite a cry, but something that speaks of dreams, where language has not yet separated itself from pure feeling. The sound carries undertones of wonder, as if she is encountering something in the dream realm that has no name in waking life, but nevertheless feels completely familiar, completely true. Her mother responds with a gentle touch that requires no consciousness, fingers finding the exact pressure needed to reassure without awakening. The fire settles into what might be its final configuration for the night. Flames lower now, but somehow more concentrated, burning with an intensity that speaks of deep understanding between fuel and air, between the wood's stored sunlight and its willingness to transform into heat and comfort for sleeping humans. Each flame moves with deliberate grace, creating shadows that shift like slow dancers across the cave walls. You close your eyes and immediately sense the presence of something vast and patient, moving just beyond the edge of perception. Not quite vision, not quite feeling, but awareness of patterns larger than any individual life. These might be the dreams that visit your people when consciousness softens enough to receive them. Dreams of herds moving across landscapes that stretch beyond horizons, of ice sheets, advancing and retreating in rhythms that dwarf human time, of the patient work that winter does in preparing the world for transformations that will not manifest for generations. When you let your attention drift even deeper, you begin to sense the presence of all those who have sat around fires in caves like this one, your grandparents and their grandparents, stretching back through lineages that connect your current rest to the first humans who learned that fire and shelter and community could answer winter's challenge. These presences are not ghosts, but something more substantial. The accumulated wisdom of survival itself, available to those who know how to listen with their bones rather than their minds. The cave breathes around you with rhythms that seem to synchronize with your increasingly slow pulse. Stone walls that have absorbed countless such gatherings now radiate back, not just warmth, but something like memory, the echo of voices that once filled this space, the lingering presence of bodies that once found safety here, the accumulated force of human intention that has gradually transformed this natural shelter into something sacred, something that participates in the ongoing conversation between human need and Earth's capacity to respond. Somewhere in the deeper passages, water continues its patient dripping, marking time that has nothing to do with human urgency and everything to do with the slow work of stone transformation, the gradual sculpture that water performs when it has centuries to accomplish its art. The sound becomes a kind of meditation, a reminder that all significant change happens at rhythms deeper than consciousness usually registers, that winter's real teachings cannot be hurried or forced, but must be allowed to emerge at the speed of dreams. A piece of wood shifts in the fire, creating a small cascade of sparks that rise like prayers toward the cave's shadowed ceiling. Each spark carries its own brief story of light and heat before fading into the darkness that embraces everything beyond the fire's reach. Watching these tiny lights complete their journeys, you understand something about the nature of individual lives. Within the larger patterns of tribal survival, how each person's existence burns brightly for its allotted time, while contributing to a warmth that outlasts any single flame. The breathing around you has deepened into something that sounds almost like the earth itself learning how to rest. Bodies that have carried the tribe's survival through autumn's challenges now release into the kind of trust that only becomes possible when safety is genuinely achieved, when winter's harshness has been met with adequate response, when the ancient partnership between human courage and natural force has once again proven its reliability. You feel your own consciousness beginning to participate in this collective release, your thoughts becoming less distinct, less individual, more part of the shared dream state that your people cultivate during winter's long passages. This is not ordinary sleep, but something your ancestors developed over countless seasons, a way of being that allows individual awareness to blend with tribal wisdom, personal dreams, to connect with species memory, current rest, to draw from the accumulated strength of all those who have survived winter's teaching. The fire burns on, patient and eternal, asking nothing, giving everything, maintaining the heart of warmth around which human life can gather and rest and dream, and prepare for whatever transformations winter's long night will bring. Its light creates a circle of safety in the infinite darkness, a space where consciousness can soften without losing itself, where dreams can visit without overwhelming the dreamer, where rest becomes a form of profound communion with forces larger and older and more patient than any individual life. Time dissolves entirely now, becoming something that flows rather than ticks, something that accumulates rather than passes. The longest night has begun, not just this particular night, but the long passage of winter consciousness that will carry you through the months ahead, teaching patience, teaching stillness, teaching the deep rest that makes all other forms of life possible. The dreams are coming now, rising from depths older than words, carrying visions of what winter knows, what ice remembers, what the patient earth whispers to those who learn how to listen with more than ears. Your heart has found a different rhythm now, deeper and more deliberate, as if it has learned to measure time according to winter's patient clock, rather than summer's urgent demands. Each beat spreads through your chest like ripples on a still pond, carrying warmth and life force through channels that have adapted to conservation, to the careful hoarding of energy that will sustain you through the long months ahead. You become aware of this transformation gradually, the way dawn reveals a landscape that changed during the night. Your pulse, once quick with the constant movement of warmer seasons, now drums with the steady cadence of someone who has learned to trust in stillness. Each heartbeat feels more significant, more deliberate, as if your body has discovered that survival depends not on speed, but on endurance, not on intensity, but on the patient maintenance of essential functions. The fire burns lower now, requiring less frequent attention, and in its dimmer light, you notice how your companions have also begun this subtle metamorphosis. Bodies that once moved with the restless energy of hunters and gatherers now rest with the profound stillness of creatures who have remembered their deeper nature. Breathing has become barely visible, chests rising and falling, with the slow rhythm of those who have learned to extract the maximum benefit from each breath. This is not the sharp-edged consciousness of vigilance, but something softer, more ancient, a state of awareness that your ancestors developed over countless generations of winter survival. Your people call it many things: the slow time, the deep rest, the season of the quiet heart. Science, in some distant future, will have names for the physiological changes happening in your body: decreased metabolic rate, lowered core temperature, altered brainwave patterns that mirror those of hibernating animals. But you know it, simply as wisdom, the body's intelligence asserting itself when external conditions demand a different relationship with life force itself. Your breathing deepens without conscious effort, each inhalation drawing air all the way down into the base of your lungs, where it mingles with blood that moves more slowly now, carrying oxygen to organs that have learned to function on less, to do more with the resources available. This is efficiency born of necessity, beauty emerging from constraint, the elegant mathematics of survival that your body performs without your conscious participation. The cave seems to breathe with you, its stone walls expanding and contracting in rhythms that match your own. Or perhaps it is the other way around. Perhaps you have learned to breathe with the cave, to synchronize your life force with the deeper pulse of stone and earth and the patient movement of underground water through passages carved by time itself. The boundary between self and environment has passages to deeper, become permeable, allowing you to participate in the larger life of winter itself. A child sleeps against her mother's side, her small heart beating with the quick rhythm of young life. But even she shows signs of adaptation. Her breathing has deepened, her body relaxed into the kind of trust that allows profound rest. Her mother's hand rests on the child's back, and you can see how both hearts have found a way to beat in harmony, the older teaching the younger the rhythms necessary for winter survival. Someone adjusts their position, and the movement seems to happen in slow motion, each gesture considered and deliberate. This is not the languid motion of fatigue, but the conscious movement of someone who has learned that every action in winter carries weight, that energy spent unnecessarily is energy unavailable for the essential work of staying warm, staying alive, staying connected to the community that makes survival possible. Your own body settles deeper into its arrangement of furs and stone, finding angles that will remain comfortable for hours without requiring adjustment. This too is learned behavior, winter wisdom that your muscles and bones carry in their memory. The art of positioning, of finding rest that can endure, of arranging yourself in space so that warmth is conserved and comfort maintained, while consciousness drifts into the special states that winter makes available. The fire's glow creates a subtle aurora on the cave walls, colors shifting from gold to amber to the deep red that speaks of coals transforming into pure heat. These colors seem to pulse in synchrony with your heartbeat, as if the fire itself has learned to breathe with the rhythm of human life, creating a visual meditation that helps guide your awareness into deeper states of calm. You feel your body temperature adjusting, not dropping dangerously, but finding the cooler baseline that conserves energy while maintaining all essential functions. Your hands and feet, which might feel cool to summer's touch, maintain exactly the warmth they need. No more, no less. This is precision born of countless generations of practice. Your body's inherited knowledge of how to thrive in conditions that would challenge those who have not learned winter's lessons. The sounds around you have become part of a larger composition. The slow breathing, the occasional shift of cloth against skin, the fire's gentle conversation with itself, the distant movement of air through stone passages. All these sounds blend into something like music, a symphony of life, continuing at exactly the pace that winter requires. No faster, no slower. Your thoughts themselves begin to move more slowly, taking time to form completely before dissolving back into the warm darkness behind your closed eyes. Ideas emerge like bubbles rising through honey, beautiful and unhurried, carrying messages from the deep places where conscious and unconscious mind meet and exchange their different forms of knowing. This is how your people have always survived winter's long passage. Not by fighting it, but by learning to match its rhythms, to find their place within its larger patterns. The slow heart is both a physiological adaptation and a spiritual practice, a way of being that honors both human need and natural law. The transformation is nearly complete now. Your body has found its winter rhythm. Your consciousness has settled into the deeper currents that will carry you through the season ahead. Each heartbeat is a commitment to continuation. Each breath an affirmation of life, choosing to persist, to adapt, to find its way through whatever challenges the cold months will bring. In this state, time becomes something you inhabit, rather than something that passes. The slow heart creates its own temporal space, a rhythm that belongs to winter's deep time, rather than the quick urgency of seasons when survival depends on movement and constant vigilance. The dreams begin to visit you now, arriving not as interruptions to rest, but as deepenings of it. Consciousness opening, like a flower toward realms that become accessible only when the mind has learned winter's patience. These are not the quick, fragmentary dreams of summer sleep, but something richer, more sustained dream states that your ancestors cultivated and treasured, knowing them to be winter's particular gift to those who learn how to receive it. You find yourself walking across a landscape that exists nowhere in waking geography, yet feels more familiar than any place you have known in ordinary consciousness. Snow stretches endlessly in all directions, but this is not the harsh white of blizzard and storm. This snow glows with its own soft light, as if each flake contains captured starlight, as if the very ground beneath your feet has learned to luminescence in response to the frozen moon that hangs impossibly large in the velvet sky above. The moon in this dreamscape is not the distant silver coin of waking nights, but something vast and present, its surface marked with patterns that shift and change as you watch, now showing the familiar craters and seas, now revealing faces you almost recognize, now transforming into symbols that speak directly to understanding without requiring translation through language. Its light does not cast shadows, but instead seems to penetrate everything, revealing the inner architecture of a world where physics operates according to different, older laws. You are not alone in this place. Other figures move through the glowing snow, some clearly your companions from the cave, others that might be ancestors, still others that seem to represent something beyond individual identity altogether. These presences communicate without words, their thoughts reaching you through the same medium that carries moonlight and the soft music that seems to emerge from the snow itself. A great mammoth appears on the horizon, but this is mammoth as spiritual presence rather than merely physical creature. Its tusks gleam like carved ivory moons, and from its breath emerges not simple vapor, but patterns of light that speak of migrations through time rather than just space. As it moves across the dreamscape, its feet leave tracks that bloom with aurora, green and blue fire that rises from the snow to dance briefly in the air, before settling back into light-filled ground. You understand, without being told, that this mammoth carries the dreams of its entire species, all the mammoths that ever lived, all that ever will live, gathered into this single magnificent presence that moves through the landscape of winter consciousness, like a teacher showing you things that cannot be learned in ordinary states of awareness. Its eyes, when they meet yours, contain depths that speak of intelligence, older and vaster than individual thought. The landscape itself begins to transform around you. What seemed like empty snowfield reveals itself as inhabited by subtle presences, spirits, of the wind that manifest as barely visible dancers, moving in spirals across the frozen ground, elementals of ice that build crystal palaces in the space between one heartbeat and the next, guardians of the deep cold who appear as figures carved from aurora light, their forms shifting between recognizable shapes and pure luminous abstraction. A tree grows beside you as you watch, but this is tree as archetype rather than individual plant. Its roots extend deep into snow that becomes earth, that becomes the molten heart of the world itself. Its branches reach toward the enormous moon, and from each twig hangs not leaves but crystallized songs, the music that winter sings to itself during the long passages between seasons. When the dream wind moves through these crystal songs, the melodies that emerge are the ones your people hum around the fire, the wordless tunes that carry the knowledge of how to rest, how to dream, how to survive. You realize that you can communicate with this tree through touch, that placing your hand on its bark allows you to access the memories it has gathered from countless winters. Through this contact, you see visions of ice sheets, advancing and retreating across continents, in patterns that span thousands of years, of your people's ancestors, learning the arts of winter survival, of future generations who will carry forward the wisdom being born in your current dreams. Other members of your tribe appear beside you in the dream, but they are transformed, enhanced, showing not just their ordinary selves, but their winter selves, the deeper identities that emerge when consciousness learns to move at the speed of snow formation, of glacier flow, of the patient work that ice does in reshaping the world. Each person radiates their own soft light, and when these lights intersect, they create new colors that have no names in waking language, but speak directly to the parts of awareness that understand beauty without needing to define it. A river flows through the dreamscape, but its water is liquid moonlight, carrying currents that move in spirals rather than straight lines. When you bend to drink from this river, the liquid light enters your body and illuminates you from within, revealing the network of energy channels that connect your individual life to the larger patterns of which it forms a part. You see your heartbeat as pulses of light, your breathing as waves of luminescence, your thoughts as small stars moving through the constellation of your nervous system. The frozen moon overhead begins to sing, its voice creating harmonies with the crystal songs hanging from the winter tree, with the soft music emerging from the glowing snow, with the deeper rhythms that pulse through the river of liquid light. This music carries lyrics in languages that existed before words, conveying meanings that go directly to the heart, without requiring interpretation by the mind. As the dream deepens, you begin to understand that this landscape is not separate from the physical cave where your body rests by the fire. Instead, it is the inner geography of winter consciousness itself, the realm that becomes accessible when human awareness learns to resonate with the deeper frequencies that cold seasons make audible. Your sleeping companions are here with you, their dream selves, exploring the same territories of meaning that winter opens to those who know how to receive its gifts. The great mammoth approaches again, and this time you understand that it carries an invitation. Climbing onto its broad back, you find yourself rising into the air, moving through layers of dream reality toward perspectives that reveal the true scope of winter's wisdom. From this height, you can see how individual dreams connect to form vast networks of shared meaning, how the consciousness of your tribe weaves together into patterns that span both space and time. The frozen moon grows larger as you ascend, until you can see that its surface is not rock, but crystallized dreams, all the winter visions that your people have ever received, accumulated over generations into a library of wisdom that reflects its light back toward Earth. as guidance for those who know how to read its messages. You descend back into awareness of your body, but the awareness is transformed now, enriched by dream wisdom that continues to flow through your consciousness, like underground streams finding their way to the surface. The fire in the cave burns steadier than ever, but you realize that its light is now matched by something burning within you, not the quick flame of passion or excitement, but the deep, enduring warmth that your people call the inner fire, the source of heat that can sustain life even when external fires fail. This warmth spreads outward from your heart, moving through channels that seem to have been carved by the liquid moonlight of your dreams. Each breath stokes this inner flame, and each heartbeat sends waves of warmth radiating through your body with efficiency that seems almost miraculous. This is not mere body heat, but something more conscious, more intentional warmth that emerges from the collaboration between will and physiology, between your deeper self and your body's inherited wisdom. You become aware of how this warmth connects you to the others, sharing the cave. Heat radiates from body to body in patterns that create a collective thermal environment, each person both giving and receiving in the ancient exchange that has kept your people alive through countless winters. The physics of this exchange would fascinate future scientists, how human bodies can create microenvironments that maintain temperatures significantly warmer than the surrounding air, how shared warmth multiplies rather than divides, creating abundance from what might seem like scarcity. A child shifts in sleep, unconsciously moving closer to the warmth emanating from the adults around her. Her mother responds, without waking, adjusting her position to provide better thermal contact, and you watch this dance of unconscious care that speaks to something deeper than individual survival. This is species wisdom, expressed through the simplest gestures: arms that open to provide warmth, bodies that arrange themselves to maximize the sharing of heat, the instinctive knowledge that individual survival and collective survival are not separate, but aspects of the same fundamental truth. The fire in the cave burns lower now, but instead of concern, you feel only deeper appreciation for the way external flame and internal warmth work together. Your body has learned to be its own hearth, generating the heat necessary for life, while using the cave fire as a supplement rather than a crutch. This is adaptation at its most elegant, not the harsh struggle often imagined, but a graceful partnership between human capability and environmental resource. You rest your hand on the stone beside you and feel how the creasing by to rock has absorbed and stored the day's heat, becoming a thermal battery that will release warmth gradually through the long night. This too is part of the larger system of warmth sharing that includes your own body heat, the fire's radiance, the insulating properties of furs, the cave's natural temperature moderation. Everything works together in a complex dance of thermal exchange that maintains the conditions necessary for deep rest and dream. The warmth flowing through your body carries with it a sense of profound safety that goes beyond mere physical comfort. This is the safety of being known completely, of belonging so thoroughly to a group that your individual well-being becomes inseparable from collective well-being. In summer's abundance, it is possible to imagine yourself as independent, self-sufficient. Winter's honesty reveals the deeper truth, that human life has always been a collaborative creation, that survival is a gift we give to each other through countless, small acts of sharing and care. Someone breathes deeply in sleep, their exhale adding a small measure of warmth to the cave's atmosphere. Another person adjusts their furs, tucking them more efficiently around their body to conserve heat. These gestures happen without conscious thought, but they represent the accumulated wisdom of generations who learned that winter survival depends on attention to details, so small they become invisible, practices so integrated into daily life that they operate below the threshold of conscious decision. Your own breathing settles into rhythms that maximize both oxygen uptake and heat production. Each breath becomes a small internal fire, air warmed by the body before reaching the lungs, then returned to the atmosphere, carrying heat generated by the endless chemical fires of metabolism. You are a furnace designed by evolution, fine-tuned by generations of winter survival, capable of maintaining the internal conditions necessary for life, even when the external world offers only challenge and constraint. The intimacy of shared warmth creates its own emotional climate within the cave. Trust deepens when survival depends on the willingness to share body heat, to sleep in close proximity, to make yourself vulnerable in the ways that thermal exchange requires. Barriers that might exist in warmer seasons dissolve under winter's insistence that connection is not luxury but necessity. Hearts open not through choice, but through the simple recognition that individual warmth, when shared, becomes something greater than the sum of its parts. A mother holds her sleeping child, their two bodies creating a perfect system of heat. Exchange the child's smaller frame warming quickly from contact with the mother's larger thermal mass, the mother's body generating extra heat in response to the child's proximity. This is love expressed as physics, care manifested through the basic laws of thermodynamics, protection offered through the simple willingness to share the most fundamental resource, the warmth of life itself. The fire outside your body and the fire within begin to feel like aspects of the same phenomenon. Both transform fuel into heat and light. Both require careful tending to maintain their beneficial effects. Both create the conditions that allow consciousness to explore states unavailable in their absence. You understand that your ancestors' reverence for fire was not primitive superstition, but sophisticated recognition of fire's role in making human consciousness possible. Not just the external fires that warm caves and cook food, but the internal fires that warm bodies and illuminate dreams. As warmth continues to circulate through your body and between the bodies around you, you feel the boundaries of individual identity softening further. Where does your heat end and another's begin? When warmth moves from your body to your neighbors and back again, which of you is the giver and which the receiver? The questions become meaningless as you dissolve into the larger warmth that contains everyone, the collective fire that burns steadily at the heart of human community. This sharing of warmth creates its own form of consciousness, its own kind of intelligence, not the quick wit of summer problem solving, but the deep knowing that emerges when individual awareness blends with tribal awareness, when personal survival merges with species survival, when the fire within reveals itself as part of the same light that burns in every human heart willing to share its warmth with the larger circle of life choosing to continue. Time has become something you move through rather than something that moves past you, each moment expanding into spaces vast enough to contain entire landscapes of awareness. The cave breathes around you with rhythms so slow they seem to emerge from the heart of the mountain itself, and you find your consciousness settling into these deeper currents, learning to navigate by different stars than those that guide ordinary waking thought. The fire burns so low now that its light seems less like illumination than like visible warmth, amber glow that reaches just far enough to suggest the presence of bodies arranged in perfect stillness around its patient flame. This light moves with the quality of honey, thick and golden, carrying information in its frequencies about time moving at winter's pace, about consciousness that has learned to unfold gradually, like ice crystals forming in patterns too intricate for haste. Your breathing has become so subtle, it seems to occur in the spaces between heartbeats. Each inhale drawing air into lungs that have learned to extract maximum nourishment from minimum effort. The pause between exhale and inhale grows longer, more pregnant with possibility, as if your body has discovered that the spaces between breaths contain their own form of sustenance, their own kind of wisdom available only to those who learn to rest in emptiness without anxiety. Someone shifts almost imperceptibly in their sleep, the movement so gradual, it seems like watching stone erode or ice sheets, advanced processes that happen on scales beyond ordinary perception, but which nevertheless shape everything they touch. This person's adjustment from one position to another unfolds across minutes rather than seconds. Conscious intention, replaced by the body's deeper intelligence, moving according to patterns that honor both comfort and conservation. The darkness beyond the fire's reach has become active, populated with presences that exist in the realm between sleeping and waking, between individual consciousness and something larger that includes but transcends personal awareness. These presences are not threatening but welcoming, inviting you to join the vast conversation that continues always in the background of ordinary consciousness. audible only when the mind becomes still enough to perceive frequencies that exist below the threshold of daily thought. You feel your awareness expanding to include layers of reality normally hidden beneath the surface of attention. The cave extends not just through physical space, but through time as well. You can sense the presence of all who have ever sheltered here, all who ever will, their breath and warmth and dreams, adding to the accumulated atmosphere of safety that makes such deep rest possible. Past and future become present participles, rather than distant territories, aspects of an eternal, now that winter consciousness makes accessible. Your heartbeat has synchronized with rhythms larger than your individual pulse. Each beat participates in the mountain's slow breathing, in the patient circulation of underground water, through passages carved by thousands of years of patient flow. Your heart beats with the rhythm of seasons turning, of ice advancing and retreating across continents, of the vast cycles that shape the Earth's climate, and your people's migrations in response to changes that unfold across centuries rather than seasons. The fire settles into what might be its deepest configuration, flames so low they seem to emerge directly from the wood itself rather than dancing above it. Yet this minimal fire radiates warmth with impossible efficiency, as if combustion itself has learned winter's lessons about achieving more through less, about the elegant mathematics of conservation that turn constraint into a form of abundance. Sound moves differently in this state of consciousness. The soft breathing around you creates harmonies that seem to emerge from silence itself rather than disturbing it. Each exhale adds to a composition that has no beginning or end, only the continuous creation of meaning through the simple fact of life, choosing to continue, choosing to rest, choosing to trust in the ancient partnership between human intention and the world's willingness to provide what is genuinely needed. Your thoughts, when they arise, move like clouds forming and dissolving in slow motion, beautiful and insubstantial, carrying messages from depths of awareness that have no names in ordinary language. These thoughts do not demand attention or require response, but simply pass through consciousness like weather patterns moving across vast skies, interesting to observe, but not essential to engage with or resist. The cave walls pulse with accumulated warmth, but beneath this physical radiation you sense something more, the presence of all the dreams that have ever been dreamed in this space, all the visions that have visited those who learned to rest deeply enough to receive them. These dreams layer upon each other like sedimentary rock, creating a repository of wisdom that belongs not to any individual but to the species itself, available to all who know how to descend into the stillness where such knowledge makes itself known. The boundary between your individual consciousness and the larger awareness of the tribe continues to dissolve. When someone else shifts in their sleep, you feel the movement in your own body. When a child makes a sound of contentment, the feeling arises in your own chest. The fire that burns in the cave's center burns also in the center of your awareness, tended by everyone present through the simple fact of their restful presence. This is the state your ancestors called the deep time, the long dream, the night that contains all nights. Clock time becomes irrelevant when consciousness learns to move at the pace of geological change, of evolutionary adaptation, of the slow work that winter performs in preparing the world for transformations that will not become visible for generations. Minutes might be passing, or hours, or the entire season the distinction loses, meaning when awareness finds its place in rhythms that measure existence by different standards than the urgent tick of survival tasks. The fire burns on, patient and eternal seeming, requiring no attention, asking nothing, but the simple recognition of its role in making this deep rest possible. Its light reaches just far enough to maintain the gentle boundary between the known and the mysterious, between the safety of the circle and the vast unknowing that surrounds all human gathering, all attempts to create meaning and warmth in the face of forces too large to comprehend. Your body settles even deeper into its perfect arrangement, finding angles that could be maintained for days without discomfort, positions that honor both physical necessity and the requirements of consciousness learning to exist in states far below the surface of ordinary awareness. This too is winter wisdom, the knowledge that true rest requires not just relaxation, but the complete integration of body and mind, in service of something larger than either can accomplish alone. In the deepest part of the night, in the most profound depths of winter consciousness, something unprecedented begins to emerge in the dreams of your people. These are visions that stretch beyond the familiar territories of ancestor memory or animal guidance, beyond the symbolic landscapes where individual psyches meet the collective wisdom of the tribe. These dreams reach forward through time with the same ease that others reach backward into the ancestral realm. You find yourself standing once again in that luminous snowfield where each flake contains captured starlight. But now the landscape shows you things that have not yet come to pass. The great mammoth appears, but this time, its tusks are carved with symbols you do not recognize, markings that somehow speak of future languages, of concepts not yet born, of technologies that will emerge from the patient application of intelligence to the challenges of survival and flourishing. In these visions, you see your descendants many generations hence, beings who carry your blood and your dreams, but who live in a world transformed beyond current imagining. Yet they too gather around different fires, in different shelters, but fires nonetheless. They too seek warmth in community, still practice the ancient arts of sharing heat and breath, and the deep rest that makes consciousness possible. The forms have changed, but the essence remains. Humans creating circles of safety in which to rest, to dream, to receive the visions that guide their people forward through whatever challenges their particular seasons will bring. The frozen moon overhead begins to show you scenes that unfold in its shifting surface like prophecies written in silver light. You see vast cities that rise from ice, their buildings shaped like crystallized breath, their inhabitants moving with the same patient grace your people have learned in their caves. You see technologies that work in harmony with winter rather than fighting against it, machines that breathe like living things, that generate warmth through principles your current understanding cannot grasp, but which feel utterly natural, utterly right. But the most profound visions show you something even more amazing. Future humans who remember this exact moment, this exact dream, this exact gathering around a fire in a cave during the long winter night of your time. They remember not as historical fact, but as living presence, accessing these moments through dream states they have learned to cultivate, ways of consciousness that allow them to reach backward through time, just as you are reaching forward. A figure approaches through the luminous snow, and as it draws closer, you realize this is one of your descendants from that far future time. But instead of the alienness you might expect, there is profound familiarity. This is clearly human, recognizably your people, carrying in their face and bearing the same essential qualities that define your tribe: patience, intelligence, the deep calm that comes from learning to work with natural forces rather than against them. This future human speaks to you, not in words, but through the same dream language that allows communication across the barriers of individual consciousness. They show you that your current choices, your willingness to learn winter's lessons of patience and deep rest, your development of the arts of collective survival, are laying the foundation for achievements you cannot imagine. Every moment of stillness you master, every breath you synchronize with the larger rhythms, every instance of warmth shared within your circle contributes to a chain of learning that stretches across millennia. Through this communion, you understand that time is not a river flowing in one direction, but an ocean in which all moments exist simultaneously. The future human who visits your dream is dreaming of you just as you dream of them, creating a conversation that happens outside ordinary temporal sequence. Your people's development of winter consciousness, your mastery of the deep states that cold seasons make possible, provides a foundation that future generations will build upon in ways that honor both continuity and transformation. The cave around your dreaming body has become a point of connection between past and future, a node in a network of human consciousness that spans time itself. All the dreams that have ever been dreamed here, all that ever will be dreamed, exist simultaneously in this moment of perfect depth. Your ancestors visit from the past, just as your descendants visit from the future, creating a gathering that transcends any single season or any single generation. You see that the fire burning in your cave is the same fire that burns in future gatherings, not metaphorically but literally. the same flame passed down through countless generations, tended by hands that change while the fire itself remains constant. This fire is more than wood burning in air. It is the light of human consciousness itself, the warmth of community that makes civilization possible, the eternal flame that connects all human, gathering across every generation. The great mammoth of the dream realm approaches once more, but now you can see that it carries riders from many different times, your ancestors and your descendants, past and future humans, who have all learned the arts of deep rest, of winter consciousness, of the patient work that allows individual awareness to expand until it touches the eternal patterns that underlie all temporal change. As you ride with them across the luminous landscape, you experience directly the continuous nature of human wisdom. The way insights gained in your time will flow forward to support future generations, just as wisdom from previous times flows backward to support you now. Every moment of genuine rest, every instance of successful sharing, every breakthrough in the arts of collective survival becomes part of a repository of knowledge that all generations can access through the deep states that winter consciousness makes possible. The future human who visited your dream places a hand on your shoulder, and through that contact you receive the gift they came to bring. The knowledge that what you are learning matters not just for your immediate survival, but for the long-term evolution of human consciousness itself. Your people's development of patience, stillness, the ability to find abundance within apparent scarcity, creates templates that will guide humanity through challenges not yet imagined. As the vision begins to fade, returning you to the simple awareness of your body resting by the fire, you carry with you the profound recognition that you are not just surviving winter, but participating in something eternal. Each breath you take in the deep states connects you to the breathing of all humans across all time. Each moment of warmth shared in your circle contributes to the eternal fire that burns at the heart of human community. The dreams fade, but their gift remains. The understanding that what seems like an ending winter's depth, the longest night, consciousness descending into states that feel like small deaths, is actually the deepest form of beginning. In learning to rest completely, to trust absolutely, to find abundance in stillness, you are preparing not just for spring's return, but for transformations that will unfold across centuries of human becoming. The cave breathes around you with the patience of stone, the fire burns with the constancy of starlight, and you rest in the knowledge that this moment of perfect depth connects you to all moments, all dreams, all the human circles that have ever gathered, or ever will gather to share warmth against the winter night. Something shifts in the darkness, not sudden, not jarring, but gradual as the movement of seasons themselves. The quality of cold begins to change, losing the sharp edge that spoke of depths beyond endurance, warming into something that suggests possibility rather than mere survival. You feel this transformation in your bones before your conscious mind recognizes it, your body responding to subtle signals that winter's grip has begun, almost imperceptibly, to loosen. The fire burns differently now, its flames reaching upward with renewed confidence, as if the wood itself carries knowledge of approaching change. The light it casts seems brighter somehow, revealing details of the cave that had been lost in winter's deep shadows, patterns in the stone walls that speak of water's ancient work, formations that catch and reflect firelight in ways that create the suggestion of hidden chambers, passages that extend beyond the immediate circle of human warmth into mysteries that daylight might one day illuminate. Your breathing begins to deepen naturally, not with the careful conservation that marked winter's depths, but with something that anticipates abundance. Each inhale carries new information air that has moved across landscapes, where ice has begun to crack, where the first tentative drops of meltwater are finding their way toward destinations determined by gravity and time. This air speaks of change happening at scales, both vast and intimate, transformations that will reshape the world, while honoring the essential patterns that make life possible. Around you, the bodies of your companions begin to stir with subtle movements that suggest the return of dreams closer to the surface of consciousness. A child shifts in her sleep, her breathing quickening slightly, as if her young body has detected signals of renewal that call forth responses older than thought. Her mother's arm adjusts to accommodate this movement, but the gesture carries new quality, not the protective conservation of deep winter, but something that anticipates the need for greater freedom, for movement beyond the intimate circle that has sustained them through the darkest months. The cave itself seems to breathe differently, air moving through passages with renewed circulation that speaks of pressure changes happening far beyond this immediate shelter. Somewhere, ice sheets that have dominated the landscape for months are beginning their slow retreat, creating new patterns of wind and weather that will gradually reach even this protected space. The mountain exhales ancient air, drawing in currents that have traveled across territories where winter's hold is already weakening. Your heart finds new rhythms, still slow and strong but quickening gradually toward the pace that will be required for the season ahead. This transition happens without effort or strain, your cardiovascular system responding to signals as natural as sunrise, as inevitable as the return of migrating birds to territories they left when the first snows began. Blood moves through channels that have learned efficiency during winter's teaching, now beginning to carry the increased circulation that will support renewed activity. Light begins to change at the cave entrance, not the full arrival of dawn, but the promise of it, the gradual lessening of absolute darkness that suggests the sun's path is beginning to climb higher in the sky with each passing day. This light is different from winter's brief, low-angled illumination. It carries hints of strength regained, of energy that will soon be sufficient not just for survival, but for the active work of rebuilding, of moving beyond shelter toward the open landscapes that warmer seasons will make accessible once again. Someone else in the circle stirs, their movement creating small sounds that speak of returning vitality. The rustle of furs being adjusted, not for better heat conservation, but for greater comfort, the soft exhalation that releases tension held for months, the subtle stretching that anticipates muscles needing to carry the body beyond the careful arrangements that winter has required. These sounds blend with the fire's renewed crackling to create a symphony of awakening that honors both rest achieved and activity preparing to resume. The warmth in the cave has taken on new qualities. Still the shared heat that has sustained community through winter's depths, but now carrying suggestions of abundance, of warmth, that will soon extend beyond the careful conservation of survival, into the generous circulation of energy that springs brings to all living systems. Your body responds to this warmth by relaxing tensions it has carried without consciousness, releasing the subtle preparations for scarcity that winter wisdom required. Water moves differently in the mountain's depths. The distant dripping that has provided winter's patient percussion, now joined by new sounds, the movement of increased flow, as ice begins to melt in chambers far from human presence, the beginning of the great circulation that will carry winter's stored water back into the cycle of rivers and lakes and the green growing things that depend upon their return. This music of returning water speaks to something in your cells that remembers abundance, that prepares for the season when survival will require not conservation but the skillful use of plenty. Dreams begin to visit the edges of your consciousness, not the deep visions of winter's heart, but lighter images that speak of movement, of landscapes opening, of the work that will soon call your people back to the surface world. These are dreams of preparation, visions that help consciousness make the gradual transition from the profound inward focus that winter required toward the external awareness that spring will demand. Yet they come gently, without urgency, honoring the wisdom of gradual change. Your body begins to generate heat through different pathways, metabolism shifting from winter's efficient conservation toward the more active burning that will fuel renewed movement. This change happens as naturally as flowers opening to sunlight, your physiology responding to signals that operate below the threshold of conscious choice, but guide the transition with precision earned through countless generations of successful adaptation. The fire burns steady and strong, requiring less careful tending, but radiating more generous warmth, as if the flames themselves understand that their role is shifting from essential survival tool toward the center of renewed community activity. Around this fire, plans will soon be made, stories will be told, of winter's gifts, dreams will be shared that will guide the tribe's movement into whatever challenges and opportunities the changing season will provide. The first dawn approaches not this particular dawn, but the metaphorical dawn that marks winter's transformation into something new, the beginning of cycles that will carry your people through another year of survival, another revolution of seasons that will test and strengthen and teach new variations on the ancient themes of human adaptation to forces larger than any individual will. In this moment of transition, you rest at the threshold between profound stillness and renewed activity, holding both the wisdom that winter has taught and the anticipation of what spring's return will make possible. The cave holds you gently as consciousness prepares for whatever transformation awaits beyond these protective walls. The flames reach higher now, dancing with an energy that speaks of transformation accomplished, of winter's deep teaching integrated into the ongoing story of human endurance and renewal. You tend this fire with hands that have learned new skills during the long months of careful conservation, fingers that understand precisely how much fuel creates optimal warmth without waste, how to arrange wood so that each piece contributes most effectively to the collective combustion that makes all other activity possible. Around this revitalized fire, your people begin the delicate work of emergence from winter's deep embrace. Bodies move with the careful attention of those who have learned to honor their physical vessels, stretching muscles that have maintained strength through months of stillness, awakening joints that have rested in perfect efficiency, while consciousness explored territories far from ordinary activity. Each movement speaks of respect for both the body's needs and the lessons that profound rest has provided. Someone begins to speak for the first time in what feels like seasons, their voice carrying the roughened beauty of vocal cords that have been used sparingly, primarily for the wordless sounds that mark deep community humming, breathing, the occasional murmur of comfort or recognition. But now words return, slowly at first, testing their weight and meaning after the long silence during which communication happened through more subtle channels than speech. The first stories emerged tentatively, accounts of dreams that visited during winter's deepest passages. These are not just personal experiences but tribal treasures, visions that belong to everyone present, dreams that carry guidance for the changing season ahead. Someone speaks of seeing great herds moving across landscapes that have not yet thawed, migrations that follow routes determined by wisdom older than individual memory. Another shares visions of new technologies, ways of working with fire and stone, and the materials that spring's return will make available. As words flow more freely, the cave fills with a different kind of warmth, the heat of shared meaning, of experiences processed through the alchemy of language, and made available to the collective consciousness of the tribe. Each dream shared becomes part of the group's wisdom. Each vision contributes to the store of knowledge that will guide decisions in the months ahead. This sharing is not mere conversation but sacred ceremony, the transformation of private revelation into communal resource. The fire responds to increased activity by burning more brightly, its flames seeming to leap in recognition of the human energy that surrounds it. Wood that has been carefully hoarded through winter's depths is now fed more generously to the flames, creating heat and light sufficient to support the expanded awareness that emergence requires. This generosity with fuel speaks of confidence in abundance returning, trust that spring's approach will bring new sources of the materials that make comfort possible. Children who have remained largely silent during winter's deep passages begin to add their voices to the collective conversation, their questions revealing how much they have absorbed during the season of listening and watching. They ask about the dreams their parents describe, seeking connections between visions received in sleep and the practical knowledge they will need for survival in the changing world. Their curiosity speaks of intelligence, shaped by winter's teaching, minds that have learned to value both imagination and practicality as essential tools for thriving. Someone begins to repair equipment that will be needed for spring's challenges. Stone, tools that were set aside when winter demanded different implements, clothing that needs adjustment for the more active life that warmer weather will make both possible and necessary. These activities happen in the firelight with the quality of ritual, each gesture acknowledging both the tool's practical importance and their symbolic significance as bridges between winter's contemplative period and the season of renewed engagement with external challenges. Food that has been carefully rationed through winter's long passage is now prepared with slight abundance, portions that speak of confidence in renewal rather than fear of scarcity. The sharing of this food becomes ceremonial, each person taking nourishment not just for their individual body, but as participation in the collective strength that will be required for whatever transitions lie ahead. Eating becomes a form of communion, bodies preparing for increased activity through shared sustenance. The cave walls reflect firelight, with new intensity, revealing details that seemed hidden during winter's conservation of illumination. Patterns emerge in the stone that speak of the ancient forces that shaped this shelter water's patient work over geological time, the slow processes that created chambers capable of harboring human life through the challenges of cold seasons. These revealed beauties speak of the partnership between human intelligence and natural provision that makes survival not just possible but magnificent. Stories flow more freely now, accounts not just of winter dreams but of memories from seasons past, successful hunts, discoveries of new resources, innovations that improved the tribe's ability to thrive in challenging environments. These stories serve multiple functions: entertainment, education, and the reinforcement of cultural knowledge that each generation must receive to build upon the achievements of their predecessors. Around the fire, the tribe becomes both teacher and student, each person contributing to the collective wisdom while receiving knowledge they will need for their own survival. Music begins to emerge alongside stories, not the wordless humming that marked winter's depths, but songs with melodies that celebrate renewal, rhythms that anticipate movement, harmonies that speak of community, preparing to engage actively with the world beyond shelter. These songs carry information as well as beauty, encoding knowledge about weather patterns, animal behavior, the timing of seasonal changes that will determine when and how the tribe moves from winter shelter to spring activity. The fire burns as the center of all this renewed activity, its flames creating a focal point around which consciousness reorganizes itself for the challenges and opportunities ahead. But this fire is more than practical necessity. It has become the sacred heart of renewal, the point where winter's deep teaching transforms into spring's active wisdom. Each flame carries forward the lessons of patience and conservation, while embodying the energy that makes expansion possible. As the activities continue around the revitalized fire, you feel yourself participating in something eternal, the ancient human ceremony of emergence from winter's teaching, the seasonal transformation that has sustained your people through countless cycles of challenge and renewal. This moment connects your current experience to all the similar moments that preceded it and all those that will follow, part of the vast pattern of human adaptation that makes civilization possible. The fire burns bright and generous, warming bodies that prepare for renewed movement, while illuminating minds that carry forward the profound gifts of winter's deep embrace. Around this flame, the future begins to take shape through the ancient alchemy of shared dreams transformed into collective action. In the growing light that filters through the cave entrance, you and your companions begin the profound work of reflection, the careful examination of what winter's long teaching has revealed about the deeper nature of human existence. This is not hurried analysis, but patient contemplation, thoughts that move at the measured pace that months of deep rest have cultivated, understanding that emerges gradually, like spring water finding its way to the surface after long passage through stone. The lessons begin with the body's wisdom, the recognition of how much can be accomplished through apparent inactivity. During winter's depths, your physical form discovered efficiencies that summer's constant movement never allows, ways of maintaining strength through minimal effort, methods of conserving energy while preserving all essential functions, techniques for extracting maximum nourishment from limited resources. These discoveries belong not just to individual survival, but to species knowledge, insights that will serve your people through countless future challenges. Patience has revealed itself not as passive waiting, but as active participation in rhythms larger than individual will or desire. The patience you learned while watching fire burn through long nights, while listening to water drip in distant chambers, while breathing in synchrony with the mountain's slow respiration. This patience contains its own form of power, the ability to align personal energy with forces that operate on scales beyond immediate perception. Such alignment creates possibilities that hurried action never discovers, solutions that emerge only when consciousness learns to move at nature's pace. The profound stillness that winter demanded has shown you dimensions of awareness normally hidden beneath the surface of busy minds. In the depths of rest, consciousness revealed territories as vast as any external landscape, inner geographies, where individual thought connects to collective wisdom, where personal experience touches universal patterns, where the boundary between self and environment dissolves, to reveal more fundamental truths about the nature of existence itself. This inner landscape will remain accessible, even after external activity resumes, a resource that can be drawn upon whenever circumstances require deep wisdom. Community has been revealed in its most essential form, stripped of everything except what genuinely matters for collective survival and mutual flourishing. The sharing of warmth, breath, space, and silence during winter's long passage created bonds that go beyond social convenience or temporary alliance. These are connections forged by mutual dependence, transformed into mutual trust, relationships where individual well-being becomes inseparable from group well-being. This understanding of true community will guide your people's decisions long after spring returns, with its abundance and its opportunities for greater independence. The relationship between scarcity and abundance has been transformed through winter's teaching. What appeared to be limitation revealed itself as invitation to discover forms of wealth that have nothing to do with material plenty. The abundance found in shared warmth, in synchronized breathing, in dreams that visit when consciousness learns profound rest. These treasures increase when shared rather than diminishing, creating wealth that scarcity cannot touch because it emerges from connection rather than accumulation. Trust has been refined through circumstances that demanded complete reliance on forces beyond individual control. Trust in the body's ability to adapt to challenging conditions. Trust in the community's commitment to collective survival. Trust in natural patterns that operate according to wisdom deeper than human understanding. This trust is not naive optimism but sophisticated recognition of how much support is actually available when consciousness learns to perceive and align with the larger systems that sustain all life. The nature of time itself has been revealed as far more flexible than ordinary experience suggests. Clock time, with its mechanical divisions and urgent progressions, has given way to organic time that expands and contracts according to the quality of attention brought to each moment. In winter's depths, single moments could contain entire landscapes of experience, while hours passed, unnoticed, when consciousness settled into rhythms that transcended temporal measurement. This knowledge of time's plasticity will serve your people in all future circumstances where patience and presence offer advantages that hurried action cannot achieve. Death and life have shown their intimate relationship through the practice of conscious rest, so profound it resembled dying while remaining fully alive. The winter sleep your people cultivated involved releases that felt like endings, the ego's boundaries dissolving, individual will surrendering to collective wisdom, ordinary consciousness yielding to states that transcended personal identity. Yet these apparent deaths led not to extinction but to renewal, to forms of aliveness richer than anything possible within the constraints of rigid selfhood. The fire that sustained your community through winter's challenges has revealed itself as symbol of consciousness, itself requiring attention but not control, offering warmth and light in proportion to the fuel provided, creating beauty through the simple process of transformation. Tending fire has taught lessons about tending awareness, the importance of choosing quality fuel, the art of providing enough oxygen without creating destructive drafts, the patience required for sustainable burning rather than brilliant flashes that consume resources without creating lasting benefit. Silence has been discovered as a positive presence rather than mere absence of sound. The silence that filled the cave during winter's deepest passages was pregnant with possibility, alive with subtle communications that happened below the threshold of words, rich with information that could only be perceived when consciousness learned to listen with more than ears. This silence revealed dimensions of communication, normally drowned out by the noise of constant activity and casual speech. The lessons continue to emerge even as spring approaches, understanding that deepens rather than concludes as circumstances change. Winter's teaching is not a curriculum to be completed, but a way of being that can be accessed whenever external conditions demand the internal resources that profound rest makes available. These lessons will travel with your people into the active seasons, providing foundation for whatever challenges and opportunities await in the world beyond this sheltering cave. As you contemplate these discoveries in the fire's warm light, you understand that what appeared to be a season of mere survival was actually a season of profound education, a curriculum designed by forces wiser than individual intention to prepare your people for forms of thriving that would be impossible without winter's deep teaching. As you sit in the growing light that speaks of change approaching, something shifts in the quality of awareness itself, a subtle widening that allows perception to extend beyond the immediate cave, beyond even your current time and place, into territories where past and future meet in the eternal present that contains all possibilities. Through this expanded awareness comes a whisper, faint but insistent, carrying information from the vast river of time that flows through all human experience. The whisper speaks of other fires in other places, other communities gathered around sources of warmth and light, other humans learning the arts of survival and connection across the endless expanse of time that stretches from your current moment toward futures you cannot imagine. But these fires grow fewer as the whisper moves through centuries, the gatherings smaller, the knowledge of deep rest increasingly rare among people who have traded winter wisdom for other forms of power and convenience. You see, through this temporal perception, how the natural rhythms that sustain your people will gradually be forgotten by their descendants. The ability to slow heartbeat and breathing in response to challenging conditions, the skill of finding profound rest that refreshes body and spirit, the knowledge of how to derive abundance from apparent scarcity. These capacities will fade as humans create artificial environments that seem to make such adaptations unnecessary. In visions that come through the whisper of time, you witness future humans surrounded by constant warmth that requires no tending, light that burns without fuel, food that arrives without the intimate knowledge of seasons and weather that currently guides your people's survival decisions. These future comforts create unprecedented opportunities for human flourishing, but they also gradually erode the connection to natural rhythms that has sustained your species since consciousness first emerged from the dreaming of the earth itself. The whisper shows you cities where millions of humans live in proximity, but know little of the deep community that scarcity teaches, where individual comfort is abundant, but collective wisdom grows scarce. You see people surrounded by endless stimulation, who have lost the ability to find richness in silence, beings who can control external temperature, but no longer know how to generate the inner fire that sustained your people through winter's challenges. Most poignantly, you witness future humans who have forgotten how to rest. They lie down in comfortable beds in climate-controlled rooms, but their minds race with anxieties and plans. Their bodies tense, with energies that have no natural outlet. They seek sleep as escape, rather than as the profound restoration that your people have learned to cultivate. They have gained mastery over many external forces, while losing touch with the internal resources that make such mastery meaningful. Yet the whisper carries hope as well as warning. Among these future humans are some who remember, who seek to recover the ancient wisdom that their ancestors possessed. They create practices that echo the natural rhythms your people follow, meditation that mirrors the deep rest of winter consciousness, breathing techniques that recall the synchronized respiration of tribal community, gatherings around symbolic fires that honor the eternal flame of human connection. Some future humans discover that the challenges they face, despite their technological capabilities, require exactly the qualities that winter taught your people. Patience that can sustain effort across long periods of difficulty, trust that can maintain community when individual resources prove insufficient, the ability to find abundance in connection rather than accumulation. They learn to value presence over productivity, depth over speed, sustainable rhythms over brilliant but exhausting achievements. The whisper reveals how certain places on the earth will maintain the ancient knowledge even when it becomes rare among human populations. Mountain caves like the one that shelters you now, remote forests where fire still provides the primary source of warmth, islands where communities still depend on seasonal rhythms for survival. These locations will preserve the wisdom that mainstream civilization temporarily forgets. Through these preserved pockets of ancient knowledge, The essential teachings will survive to resurface when future crises make them necessary again. Climate changes that challenge technological solutions. Social disruptions that require communities to rediscover mutual dependence. Personal awakenings that call individuals back to deeper sources of meaning. All these circumstances will create openings for winter wisdom to return to human consciousness. The whisper shows you how stories matter in preserving what appears to be lost. The tales that your people tell around winter fires, the memories passed from elders to children, the dreams shared in the depths of seasonal rest. These narratives will survive in forms that future generations can access when they need guidance. Songs will carry the rhythm of proper breathing. Myths will encode the knowledge of how to find rest in apparent endings. Legends will preserve the understanding of how individual well-being connects to collective thriving. You see that your current experience, this very moment of rest beside the fire, surrounded by community, aligned with natural rhythms, contains seeds that will grow into future remembering. Every breath you take in profound stillness, every moment of warmth shared within your circle, every instance of consciousness expanded beyond individual boundaries, contributes to a reservoir of human wisdom that time cannot entirely erase. The whisper fades gradually, leaving you with the understanding that you are not just surviving winter, but preserving something essential for descendants who will face their own forms of cold and scarcity. Your patient endurance, your willingness to learn from challenging conditions, your development of the arts of deep rest and true community, all these accomplishments serve not only your immediate survival, but the long-term resilience of human consciousness itself. In the fire's warm light, surrounded by the steady breathing of your sleeping companions, you understand that this moment is both ending and beginning. Winter's deep teaching approaches completion for your current season, but its wisdom will travel forward through time in ways you cannot predict, ready to resurface whenever future humans remember their need for the profound rest that makes all other forms of human flourishing possible. The whisper of time reminds you that you are ancestors as well as descendants, that your choices in this moment of depth and stillness will echo through centuries of human becoming, contributing to the great conversation between individual need and collective wisdom that defines the ongoing evolution of consciousness itself. And now, as the ancient fire burns low in its circle of stone, as your companions rest in the profound stillness that winter's teaching has made possible, as the cave breathes around you with the patience of mountains and the gentleness of snow settling on silent landscape, now it is time for you, too, to receive the deepest gift that this long season has to offer. Let your breathing find the rhythm that your ancestors knew, the slow, deep circulation of air that connects your individual life to the larger breath that moves through all living things. Feel how each inhale draws not just oxygen but the accumulated wisdom of countless winters, the knowledge that flows through your blood and bones from generations who learned to survive by learning to rest, to find abundance in apparent scarcity, to discover the wealth that emerges when consciousness settles into its deepest and most natural patterns. Your body knows how to do this, carries in its cells the memory of profound rest that refreshes rather than merely providing escape from activity. Let the muscles that have held you upright through the day's challenges now release into the support that the earth itself provides. Your weight settling into surfaces that have held human rest for thousands of years, stone and fur, and the accumulated warmth of community, creating the perfect conditions for the kind of sleep that heals, not just fatigue, but the deeper exhaustion that comes from living disconnected from natural rhythms. Allow your heartbeat to slow until it matches the pulse of seasons changing, of ice forming and melting according to patterns that stretch across geological time, of the patient work that winter performs in preparing the world for whatever transformations spring will bring. Your heart needs no conscious direction to find this deeper rhythm. It remembers how to beat in harmony with forces larger than individual will, how to participate in the circulation of life that connects all breathing beings across time and space. The fire beside you burns with the same flame that has warmed human gatherings since consciousness first learned to tend combustion, the eternal light that connects your current rest to all the moments of safety and warmth that your ancestors created in the face of challenge and uncertainty. This fire requires no tending now. It burns with its own patience, providing exactly the light and warmth necessary for the kind of sleep that connects individual dreams to the larger dreaming of the earth itself. Feel how the darkness that gathers beyond the fire's reach is not empty, but pregnant with possibility, alive with the subtle presences that visit when consciousness learns to rest deeply enough to receive them. This darkness welcomes you not as an enemy, but as the fertile void from which all dreams emerge, the fertile void, rich emptiness, that allows awareness to expand beyond the boundaries of ordinary perception into territories where healing and renewal happen, according to laws older than logic. The sounds around you, the gentle breathing of sleeping companions, the soft crackling of burning wood, the distant movement of air through stone passages, these sounds weave together into a lullaby that has been sung for countless generations, the wordless music that guides consciousness from waking activity into the restorative depths, where individual identity dissolves into the larger patterns that sustain all life. Let your thoughts slow until they move, like clouds forming and dissolving in a vast sky, beautiful and insubstantial, carrying meaning, but requiring no effort to understand or remember. Allow the concerns and plans that occupy ordinary consciousness to settle like sediment in still water, leaving awareness clear and spacious, ready to receive whatever dreams and visions the deep rest will provide. Your body settles deeper into its perfect arrangement, finding the position that can be maintained for hours without discomfort, the precise alignment that allows all systems to function with minimum effort, while consciousness travels through the inner landscapes that sleep makes accessible. This settling happens naturally, your muscles and bones responding to information they have carried since before birth, the inherited knowledge of how to rest completely. The warmth that flows through your body now comes not just from external fire, but from the deeper source that burns at the center of all life, the inner flame that requires no fuel but patience and trust to sustain its beneficial effects. This warmth spreads through channels that connect individual existence to the collective life of your species, the network of shared energy that makes community possible, even in sleep, even in dreams. Feel how the boundaries between yourself and your sleeping companions gradually dissolve, awareness expanding to include the gentle breathing that surrounds you, the shared warmth that makes this rest possible, the collective security that allows individual consciousness to release its vigilance and explore the deeper territories where personal identity touches universal patterns. The cave holds you with the patient embrace of stone that has learned wisdom from geological time, walls that have absorbed the breath, and dreams of countless human gatherings, chambers that resonate with accumulated rest, the echo of all the profound sleep that has ever happened in this sheltered space. This holding requires nothing from you but acceptance, the simple willingness to receive the support that has always been available to those who know how to rest completely. And now, as your breathing deepens into the rhythm of seasons, as your heartbeat slows to match the pulse of winter's patient work, as consciousness settles into the profound stillness that makes all dreams possible now, you join the eternal sleep that connects all human rest across time, the deep restoration that your ancestors knew, and that your descendants will rediscover when they remember their need for the ancient wisdom that winter teaches to all who learn to receive its gifts. Let sleep come now, like snow settling on silent landscape, gentle and complete, carrying you into the dreams where individual healing becomes part of the larger healing that flows through all life, where rest becomes a form of service to the continuing evolution of consciousness itself, where your peaceful breathing adds to the vast lullaby that the earth sings to all its children, who remember how to listen, how to rest, how to dream the dreams that make all waking possible. Sleep now, deep and complete, held by the ancient wisdom that flows through your blood, surrounded by the eternal fire that burns at the heart of all human community, cradled by the patient love that connects your individual rest to the rest of all beings who have learned to find abundance in stillness, meaning in silence, and profound restoration in the sacred act of letting go into the healing darkness where all dreams are born. The ancient winter holds you gently as consciousness releases into the timeless realm where rest and renewal prepare the ground for whatever awakening will come when the season of deep sleep has completed its perfect work.